We're going to go ahead and get started. So hello and welcome to the National Staff Development and Training Association's, NSDTA's March Showcase Series. My name is Alexander Figueroa with the American Public Human Services Association, APHSA, and I'm the liaison to NSDTA. Today's webinar is titled Inspiring Action Using Stories from the Past, Present, and Future, and presented by NSDTA's own Lawrence Mirabal from New Mexico Human Services Department. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone to please mute yourselves during the presentation, and our presenter, Lawrence, will pause throughout for questions and comments. Also, this webinar will be recorded. Next slide, please. Lawrence, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. NSDTA will be offering a series of webinars as part of its showcase series over this calendar year. Our theme for our webinars will be, for the month of June, Crucial Conversations on Race Equity. For September, Workforce Development around staff hiring, support, and retention. And for the month of November, Transfer of Learning for a Virtual Workforce. Additional details about these webinars will be advertised as we get closer to the events. Next slide. Before we start today's webinar, I'd also would like to share that the 2022 NSDTA Education Conference will be in Spokane, Washington from October 16th through the 19th. Some important dates to be aware of. Currently, call for proposals is now open until April 8th. Registration will open in the month of April, and our scholarships and award nominations will be accepted through May and June. Next slide, please. Now, a little bit of information about our presenter. Lawrence's professional career spans over 35 years in training and leadership positions across many industries, from high-tech engineering, retail, consumer products, and business consulting. He specializes in organizational change and leadership development to help leaders realize their power to drive positive change in the workplace. Over the past 7 years, Lawrence has dedicated himself to public service with the Human Services Department for the state of New Mexico and serves on the NSDTA Executive Advisory Council. I will now turn it over to Lawrence to start our presentation.
Thank you, Alex, and good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here with you guys today. How many people do we have on board, Alex, before we get started?
We currently have 97 currently joining our webinar.
Fantastic, I love it. So again, welcome everyone. I'm really excited to be with you guys today. You know, one of the things I love best about events like this is bringing people together. And, you know, people from all walks of life, people from all over the country, multiple industries, and we're all so very different. But we're all coming together for the same thing and to serve that same purpose. You know, we're all kind of like-minded individuals. And that's one of the things that I love best about public service, working for the New Mexico Human Services Department, and what I love best about NSDTA. And it's bringing people together to share information, share knowledge, and really take what we learn and make it our own, and then take it back to where we're from and apply it and grow from it. And the best part of it is it's all free. At least I think it's free. Alex, how much am I getting paid to do this, by the way?
$0, Lawrence.
We need to talk a little after this presentation then.
You got
Just joking. But we all do this in the spirit of giving. And so in that spirit of giving, I'm really excited to spend the next maybe 90 minutes with you sharing experiences and stories of my career with you. And in turn, I'm appreciative that you guys are sharing your time with me. You could be doing lots of other things, but you choose to spend the next 90 minutes with me. So I'm going to do my very best to make sure that this time that you spend with me is an investment in your time. If nothing else, I'm going to do my best to make it an enjoyable experience for you. So in the spirit of giving, we're going to start with a little activity, okay? What I want you guys to do, and I want you to use your chat function right now. If you'll do me a favor and just do a quick reflection and put into chat how you are feeling right at this very moment. We're all experiencing lots of different emotions. Some is anxiety, some is stress, some is pressure, some is calm's coming in, excited from Shauna, stress, says Jessica, energized, fantastic, content. Good, we're all experiencing lots of different emotions right now. Okay, good, tired is Sherry. Crispy, I love that. All right, let's get it. How are you feeling right this very moment? All right, so the next step of this exercise is what I want you to do is I want you to take a moment and I want you to just, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes for me. And I want you to close your eyes and I want you to just relax for a moment. Okay? I want you to relax, clear that mental desk if you can. And just, I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to visualize the situation I'm going to describe to you. Okay? So relax, close your eyes, take a nice cleansing breath. And I'm going to ask you a question. What if there was one thing that you could change about your current situation, either at work or at home with your family, if you could change one behavior with your team or your family or whatever unit that you're involved in, if you could change one behavior of that team, what would it be? Think about that for a moment. And when you're ready, drop that behavior into chat. We're going to use that information later in the presentation. What one behavior would you change? If you had the power to change anything and you could get your team to do one thing different, what would it be? Communicate better. Resistance, lack of communication, be present but not overreactive. Get them more motivated. Accountability, excellent. Compassion fatigue, more open-minded, excellent. All right, keep dropping those in there. I want you to hang on to that. I want you to remember that as we work through the presentation today, okay? So I'm gonna do a screen share because I'm gonna do some, we're gonna work off some slides here, okay? So I'm assuming everybody can see the screen here.
That's
okay.
correct.
All right, very good. So I'm going to ask you guys a question now. What if you had the power to change all of that? What would it be like? Connect with that emotion and then think about that change. I'm going to play a video for you, okay? And then after the video, I'm going to ask you what's different about your emotions, okay? So if I queued this up right, the video is going to play for you. Let's give it a try. Oh, that didn't work. Okay. So what do you all think of that video? Here's what I want you to do is, what's different in your emotions? Think about that for a moment after watching the video and drop it into chat. What did that video make you feel? Inspired, empowered, good, hopeful, possibilities, excellent, Ashley. Shauna, hopeful, encouraged, very good. Yes. So just playing a short video for you initiated an emotion within you. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. What was that? What was that that created that shift in the way that we were feeling? So what we're going to be talking about today is how we can be more inspirational to people around us, whether it's to a large conference room full of people, or maybe it's just a couple of people on your team that are struggling with a situation, or maybe you want to initiate that change with your group that you put into chat earlier. It all starts with inspiration. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. How can we use the power of stories to inspire others to take action? And so what we're going to cover today is, I'm going to drop a little science on you guys to start, okay? Because I think it's really important to understand where inspiration comes from, first of all, and then how we can use that information to tie it into our ability to tell really simple stories to initiate changes in behavior. And then we'll talk about some of the key elements that you need as you prepare to develop your storytelling skills. And then I'm going to wrap up today. I've got several videos I'm going to show you, but I'm going to wrap up today telling you a little bit more about my team. So I lead a very unique team within the Human Services Department for the state of New Mexico. I'll tell you a little bit about that team and our history and our team story, and how we use that story to inspire action to change the culture of our division. How's that sound? Does that sound like a game plan for our time together? Drop it in the chat. Let me know how you guys feel about that game plan. Yes, Terrence says, yep. All right, good. We all ready to go? Okay, let's jump into it. So I got to tell you first, before we start talking about science, I am not an expert, okay? I consider myself more of a student of human behavior, not so much an expert. So I got to give you guys a little nerd alert here, that what I'm going to share with you guys is a little bit deep, and I'll show you with you some resources on where this information came from. But we're going to start with the science of inspiration. So when you think about inspiration, or when you kind of dive into the topic of inspiration, you're going to find out that there are three key characteristics that make up inspiration. So the first one is what they call evocation, and that's external stimulus. So if you've ever been in a training, for example, and the trainer articulates a concept or a theory in a particular way, that you get that light bulb effect, or it just clicks, and you get we call those aha moments, where it's like, I finally get it. That is an example of evocation. The second core characteristic is transcendence. And that is an example of that is hope, okay? Or that feeling that, hey, actually life could be better if we did something different. And that feeling of excitement that builds up behind that and says, hey, there's a brighter future ahead of us. And then the third characteristic is approach motivation. And that is that motivation to want to strive towards a particular goal, okay? An expression to move forward or take action to achieve that goal, okay? So three core characteristics of inspiration. Also within inspiration is two distinct processes. So there's a passive process and there's an active process. So the passive process is external, something that is inspiring you. So being inspired by, and some examples of that is, as I've got on the slide there, like virtues of others, something that somebody else did that inspired you to want to replicate it or do it as well. So things like acts of heroism or human generosity. You see someone helping out, maybe a homeless person, and they help them out. They take them in, they feed them, and you think about that and you say, hey, that was really cool. I should do that more. Okay, that's passive inspiration. Beauty also. Some people like to get up early in the morning to watch the sunrise because they get a feeling of fulfillment out of it, or inspiration. Also, passive process of inspiration. Music, when you're listening to music and you have a particular song, or a song comes on the radio and it brings back memories, really strong, powerful memories of maybe your childhood, or getting you excited and motivated. Like if you're into exercise and working out and you listen to music, because it pumps you up, that's a good example of passive inspiration. Works of art also, and not just paintings or that you would see in a gallery, but movies as well. Later on, I'll show you some snips of movies that is a really good example of that passive inspiration. And then the second part of inspiration is active inspiration, and that's being inspired to want to take action, to do something different. And that's where that compelling story of the future or of a better place comes into play. And that also triggers motivation, that it's that stimulus or that motivation to want to start doing things differently, whatever it may be. And as we put this information into the context of inspiring people through stories, a skilled storyteller understands that they can tie in all of these elements into their story. And the more effectively you do that, the more inspirational and the more it'll drive change. So it's really important to understand that piece. So let me pause there before I move forward. Are there any questions so far? I don't know if there's any questions in the chat. If you do have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to drop them into chat. I'll pause periodically and check back with Alex to see if there's any questions. And I'll make sure we have some time to address them, answer them, and I'll do my very best to help give you some guidance. So Alex, how are we doing on chat? Are there any questions so far?
Nothing yet, Lawrence, but I'll definitely keep my eye on that.
Okay, great. All right, so that begs the question now, how do we inspire others? How can we do that? How can we take this information? How can we take our experiences as leaders or as parents or as coworkers, as peers, and use the power of story to change behavior? That's what we're going to talk about now. And it really does start with a story, okay? Everything starts with a story, as Joseph Campbell wrote. Everything starts with a story. And your ability as a leader to be able to craft relevant and compelling stories can be an incredible tool for you to initiate action. And the reason that storytelling is really effective as a leader is because stories speak to that part of the brain that is responsible for emotions. So stories trigger emotions, and it's our emotions that determine behavior. So nothing changes in our behavior unless there's an emotion behind it. And as you develop that skill of storytelling And as you tie it into relevant situations, it speaks to that part of the brain that tells people, hey, I can take action. This could actually be possible. If I just change this one thing, I can improve myself, I can improve my team, I can improve my environment, I can improve the world. And you can do it all through storytelling. So before we get into some examples of storytelling, let me give you guys some tips that I've learned about storytelling and becoming a better storyteller. And it's really broken into two pieces. I want to talk about you, first of all, or the storyteller, and then we'll talk about how to craft that story. So first of all, as you want to improve that skill of storytelling, there's some key things that is important to bear in mind. So the first one I want to talk about is it's really important to be yourself, really important to be genuine. So as you're engaging with people, and you might be doing this right now with me. So, we have instincts, right? When you meet somebody and you can tell that they're not really being themselves, your instincts pick up on that. And so if I'm sharing information with you and you feel like I'm not being genuine, then you're probably less likely to buy into what I'm sharing with you. And so the same goes for you as you're developing your storytelling skills. Really important to be yourself. So if you're, if you like using humor, if you're humorous, build humor into your storytelling. If you're more of a data person, then incorporate, data or information into your stories, because it's really important for your stories to be authentic, to be genuine, and speak with purpose, meaning understand that there is a true need or a true purpose behind why you want to share that story. So my purpose in spending this time with you is because I really want you to be more influential with your team, because I know if you become good, effective storytellers, then you can take that back to your workplace, to your team, and share those stories and inspire others to improve their environment. I mean, that's something I really believe. And in fact, use that term in your story. I believe. There's nothing stronger than a belief. You can't change someone else's belief. It's something that you truly believe internally. And speak with purpose, speak with conviction. That's tip number one. Tip number two is know your audience. Okay, if you're at a party, or if you walk into the conference room and it's really upbeat and people are laughing and joking, would it be appropriate to tell a story that may be somber or serious? Probably not. You want to make sure that your story aligns with the tone or the mood of the room. So know your audience. If they're a group of new hires, make sure that your story is relatable to the new hires. So important, know your audience. Tip number three, make sure you show up to give. I started today's presentation talking about what I love most about events like this. It's all of us coming together and sharing information. I kind of set up Alex before. I said, Alex, how much am I getting paid to do this? Of course, I'm not getting paid anything, because I showed up to give. I showed up to give you information in hopes that you'll take that forward and share that with others. So when you're talking about inspiring others, make sure you show up with a spirit of giving. Be that giver. Tip number four, take your time. Tell your story. So people will hang on your words as you share your story. So don't feel like you have to rush through it. If you rush through it, it's less likely to be believable, credible, and those words won't sink in. So really take your time as you're telling your story. Pause. People hang on your words. I mean, just watch this. It gets a little bit uncomfortable as you pause, but that's because people are really focused and wanting to hear what you have to say. So take your time when you tell your story. Last tip for the storyteller is be confident. Make sure you understand not understand, but make sure that you really have rehearsed or prepared that story. Make sure the story applies to the situation. And so speak with confidence. Remember, I talked about belief. So if you truly believe in what you're sharing, then you can speak with confidence. And then also really important to be humble and be gracious. So, you don't want to be arrogant as you share your story. It'll turn people off. So make sure that you're humble, and then also be gracious. If you're speaking to a large room, for example, and you're sharing your story as part of a presentation, and you get that, when you're done and people clap, that's their gift to you for sharing your story. So make sure that you accept it and be gracious and say thank you. Just like you sharing your time with me and giving me your attention for 90 minutes. To me, that's my gift, and I really appreciate that. So it's really important to be gracious and humble in your storytelling. So let's talk about the story now. So as we think about storytelling and crafting stories, this is where the creativity comes. What I love best about being an effective storyteller, and as you develop that skill of storytelling, you can tie just about any story of your past and craft it into a way that it applies to a situation. And I'll give you an example here in another slide or two. So a little bit about the story. So tip number one, as you're thinking and developing your stories to inspire, make sure it's human-centric. I call it human-centric. I think I kind of made up that word. But human-centric, meaning that the story has to relate to people. And I put in there in parentheses, if you're that data person, be really careful about putting too much data into your story, because then it becomes a data dump, and numbers inspire nobody. You want to inspire people. Remember, you have to appeal to that part of the brain that controls emotions, and it's people. You can't achieve fulfillment unless there is a relationship or a human benefit that emerges from that. So as you think about your story, tell it from the approach of through the eyes of a human. Make it human-centric. Tip number two about the story, and this is more of a process as you're developing your story. Start with the big picture of the present, okay? And I'm going to just pick an example out. So I'm making a presentation to, last week, I just had launched a leadership program for our frontline eligibility workers. So these are people that are dealing with our customers. I mean, they're doing interviews and determining eligibility for a number of social services that we offer. And so it's really important to start with a big picture. So for example, the way we started was, what I love about this event is we're bringing our emerging leaders together, the leaders that hold the most promise for the future of our division. So just start with a big picture, okay? The second step is, here's where you start with the past, present, and future. The title of this presentation is How Leaders Inspire Action with Stories of the Past, Present, Future. Here's where the past, present, future comes into your storytelling. The second step is with your story of the past. You need to bring that to life. So share a relevant story and use vivid examples So if you're telling a story of your childhood, really talk about the detail of it. They need to be able to see almost see you in that particular situation. So I'll show you some examples here in just a moment. So share a relevant example and make it vivid of that story of the past. So for example, when the pandemic hit, and I'll share a story of my division. When the pandemic hit, prior to that, everybody worked in their own offices. Well, when the pandemic hit, we had to go to home offices. Everybody was working in field offices, and we had to disperse our workers to work from home for protection, to protect themselves from the pandemic. And the transition was seamless because all of our leaders, instead of took their focus from their office operation and shifted that focus towards their staff. And every single one of our leaders made sure that every single one of their employees was safe, secure, and had all the tools that they needed to make sure that they could do their jobs effectively and take care of their own health and the health of their families. And in turn, our workers were able to shift their focus from their safety to make sure that the safety of our customers were taken care of as well. And we were able to make that transition seamlessly. So be vivid with your storytelling. Then comes the present. And that's where you talk about the current challenge. So if we're talking about where we are in society, we're at unprecedented times, folks. Would you not agree? I mean, here we are. We haven't dealt with a pandemic in 100 years. There is no playbook on how we lead our way through this, how we manage through this situation. But I tell you, everybody is looking to the leaders to lead us through this situation. So talk about the present situation. Here's the current challenge we have on our plate, okay? And then talk about the actions that you want the team or the group to take, right? And then the third step of that storytelling is to then tell a compelling vision of what the future will be like when we get there. So as we talk about the challenges that we have in society, right? So, I can't imagine when we've been so divided politically. We've got so many social challenges facing us. In the field of human services, there's never been a greater need for our services here. But I can tell you, if we can come together, if we can come together as a team, and if we can come together as a society and collaborate and work together and do all those things that I shared with you in that video to start this session, imagine how it could change the world. Imagine a world with more compassion, a world with more love, people working side by side to take care of one another. What will that world be like? So that's what I'm talking about. Make sure that that vision of the future is compelling. And now you're talking to that part of the brain that is responsible for emotions. You're making that emotional connection with the brain. And that is what drives behavior. Let's take a look at an example of how that happened. Before I show you the example here, if you feel comfortable with it, use your chat function and put what year you were born. What year were you born? Drop it into chat for me. Let's see. 71, 82, 78, 82. All right. Good. Okay. 84. Okay. How many of you, and if you were born like before 1980, you may not remember this, okay? But I'll talk about it. How many of you remember Hands Across America? Drop it in the chat if you remember Hands Across America. So reflecting back on the 80s, and if you were born like after, in the 80s or after the 80s, what was life like back then? So we were just coming out, we were still recovering from the Vietnam War. We had a recession. We had a lot of social uprising and turmoil going on at that time. And there was a big focus on homelessness and hunger, much like we have today, okay? And a group of people got together and they wanted to really focus on helping that segment of our society. And they they created Hands Across America, okay? Think about that. A divided nation and one movement, one activity was able to unite the country. What would that be like if we did something like that now? I'm gonna play a video for you about Hands Across America. And then, and you'll be able to relate to it here, okay? Let's see if it'll play for us here.
This sky, so serene, has felt the kiss of countless dreams. And this earth that smells so sweet cradles us all in its great heartbeat. So we must learn to love each other. See that man over there? He's my brother. And when he laughs, I laugh. And when he cries, I cry. And when he needs me, I'll be right there by his side. Hands across America.
Imagine that, you guys. Imagine a country coming together to join hands on a common cause. Could you see that happening today? What type of effort would it take to create something, some event like that to create unity? Wow, a lot of us can't even fathom that right now in the current state of our country. But it happened back then. And it all started with a story. It started, imagine if we could create a line across the entire country and create unity, and it brought the country together. And it all started with a story. So hopefully you've gotten a grasp of how powerful storytelling can be and how storytelling can initiate action. And you've gotten a feel for the elements that make up inspiration. And even as we're watching that video, hopefully you're drawing some connections to the various characteristics that make up inspiration. So the music, seeing people coming together, all of those things, and you want to weave those into your stories as you look to inspire others. And what's cool is we're surrounded by examples. Terrence says, there's only way it would work right now is if there was a TikTok challenge, and it happens. That's another example, Terrence, a good one. And we're surrounded by examples of how leaders use storytelling to inspire action. And it's no more evident than in examples of, we see examples in politics, we see examples in movies, and all around. I mean, great movie producers understand the power that great stories can tell. I know we've got about 13 minutes. I do want to show you some examples of the process of storytelling using stories of past, present, and future. So I'm going to do some quick snippets of the process being used in politics, and then I'll show you a snippet of how it's used in the movies. So the first snippet I'm going to show you is of one of the most gifted speakers in my lifetime, and that's President Barack Obama. I'm going to play a snippet for you, and what I want you to watch for is how he weaves, how vivid his stories are, the stories of his past, okay? So I'm going to put a video on for you, and watch for the various characteristics that go into a storytelling. Oh, commercial. Okay.
Sure feels good when you get it right. And with the #1 power toothbrush brand recommended by dental professionals, Philips Sonicare makes it easy for you to always get brushing right.
Oh, another one. All right, here we go. Sorry about the ads, you guys.
Let me express my deepest gratitude for the privilege of addressing this convention. Tonight is a particular honor for me because, let's face it, my presence on this stage is pretty unlikely. My father was a foreign student, born and raised in a small village in Kenya. He grew up herding goats, went to school in a tin roof shack. His father, my grandfather, was a cook, a domestic servant to the British. But my grandfather had larger dreams for his son. Through hard work and perseverance, my father got a scholarship to study in a magical place, America, that shone as a beacon of freedom and opportunity to so many who had come before. While studying here, my father met my mother. She was born in a town on the other side of the world, in Kansas. Her father worked on oil rigs and farms through most of the Depression. The day after Pearl Harbor, my grandfather signed up for duty, joined Patton's army, marched across Europe. Back home, my grandmother raised a baby and went to work on a bomber assembly line. After the war, they studied on the GI Bill, bought a house through FHA, and later moved west, all the way to Hawaii in search of opportunity.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there, because did you see how vivid he told his story of the past? Really, really detailed and vivid. And as he starts talking about elements that people connect with, on the other side of the world in Kansas, and people that related to that erupted in applause. So really important to be vivid. I'm going to play one more snip for you. These slides, we're going to make these slides available to you so you can watch these on your own. And I've got a resources page as the last slide. It has all the links to these videos so you can see examples of these stories of past, present, and future. But I want to get to one more snip, and it's very brief before we move on. And that's the snip of Remember the Titans. I actually watched that movie again last night because it's such a powerful movie. But if you've ever seen the movie, it's staged back in the early 70s when they were starting to bus students, Black and white students, into the same schools, and it was creating a lot of social conflict. And it's about this football team that brought this football team together. I don't want to ruin the story for you, because if you haven't seen it, I'm going to encourage you to watch it. But the coach tells a particular story that really unites the team. I'm going to play that story for you right now, so you can see how he uses the story of the past, present, and future to bring the team together. Let's watch a snip from Remember the Titans. Hopefully not a commercial. Okay.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Wake up, gentlemen, it's late. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. All right, listen up. You will follow Doc, myself, and the other coaches. We're going to take a little run through the woods. If you get lost along the way, don't bother coming back to camp. Just hitchhike your hind parts on home. Any questions?
Coach, it's a high school football team. We're not the Marines here.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Tell me where I have been, my blue-eyed son. Where have you been, my darling young one? I've stumbled up on the side of the well-written mountain. I've walked and I've crawled over six crooked highways. Tell you it's hard. It's hard.
No. Come on, baby. Can't take no risk. Can't take no risk.
Gonna fall.
Anybody know what this place is? This is Gettysburg. This is where they fought the Battle of Gettysburg. 50,000 men died right here on this field, fighting the same fight that we're still fighting amongst ourselves today. This green field right here, painted red, bubbling with the blood of young boys. Smoke and hot lead pouring right through their bodies. Listen to their souls, man. I killed my brother with malice in my heart. Hatred destroyed my family. You listen. You take a lesson from the dead. If we don't come together right now on this hollow ground, we too will be destroyed. Just like they were. I don't care if you like each other or not, but you will respect each other. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll learn to play this game like men.
All right, one of my favorite movies of all time. I actually use Remember the Titans in a lot of my leadership development trainings. How many of you have seen the movie Remember the Titans? Drop it into chat for me if you've seen it. So here you are, you're bringing, yeah, great movie, most definitely. And so you have the black players and the white players coming together. The only team in the entire district that had players and students bust together. And there was huge conflict in the team. And Coach Boone was able to use that power of the story of the past, present, and future to really inspire their team to come together. I don't want to spoil the movie for you. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Watch it. It's a super inspiring movie. Let's do a quick time check, Alex. Let me pause there for a moment. See if there's any questions in the chat or anybody on the line that has any questions on anything we've covered up to this point. Would be happy to answer them.
Currently, Lawrence, there's no questions in the chat, but as Lawrence mentioned, feel free to unmute yourself and feel free to ask any questions or comments, or if you want, if you feel more comfortable, please put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Yes, from last name Mai. Is there a question?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
All right. Okay, so we've been talking about how we can develop to be stronger, better, more effective storytellers. So a question that is probably on a lot of people's mind right now is, okay, I've told my story, but it didn't work. What happens if they don't buy in? I want to tell you guys something. It's okay, all right? And it's going to happen. I'm going to share with you some information that is going to be your safety net, okay? So back in '62, Everett Rogers developed the theory of diffusion of innovation. If you're not familiar with this theory, you're familiar with the terms, okay? And it is the standard deviation, or as a lot of us know it, as a bell curve. And every group falls under this theory of diffusion of innovation, meaning if you have high performers, you're going to have low performers. If you have people that are outgoing, you're going to have people that are not outgoing. Everywhere you go, things follow a standard deviation. And the same goes for influencing people. And I'm just going to talk briefly about this because as it applies to groups and it applies to storytelling, you're going to have some people that get on board that connect with your story and some people don't. And this can be really empowering to the storyteller because this really applies to what you do. In fact, before I started this presentation, I remembered that some of the people on this presentation are going to connect with it. They're going to be inspired by it. And some of the people on this line are saying, oh my God, when is this going to be over? This is the worst 90 minutes of my life. And it's going to happen. But here's what I want you guys to do. So as the theory of the diffusion of innovation is, all groups are broken into basically 5 segments. The first segment, that first 2.5%, according to the theory, are the big picture people, right? Those are the innovators, the people that are the real inspirational people. You know, you've got you know, the real Gandhis, the people that really inspire and just are leading the charge on inspiration. Then you have the next 13.5%. And those are the early adopters. Those are the people that are going to relate to, connect, and get on board with your story and actually take action. The middle section is divided, that next 68% is divided into the early majority and the late majority. That 68% are generally what you'd call the skeptics. They don't disagree with what you say, but they're not jumping on board and leading with a charge. They tend to be skeptical, and they tend to want to make sure other people get on board before they do, okay? The last 16%, according to the theory, are called the laggards, or those are the people that, regardless of your best effort, no matter how compelling your story is gonna be, they're not gonna get on board, okay? So from a storyteller's perspective, your strategy, you really wanna get that 68%, right? But you don't talk to that 68%. You share your story with them, but you really wanna focus that story on that front end, that 13.5% and that 2.5%. That 16%, those are the ones that are going to connect with your story, and they're gonna influence that early majority. So as that 16% embraces your story and actually starts to do the behaviors that you want them to do, they're going to start realizing the benefits of that compelling vision. They're going to start getting results from their changed behaviors. And that early majority is going to see them, and they're going to see the benefits that they're gaining, and they're going to want to take part. And then they'll start to get on board. And that late majority is going to see that early majority, and they'll start to get on board. When you talk about doing, like, if you're working on a culture change initiative for your organization, this diffusion of innovation theory will apply with that as well. That 16%, you don't want to, they're not going to get on board. So really don't even tell your story to them, encourage them, say, we'd love to have you on board, but chances are they're not going to get on board anyway. But if you could influence 84% of the whole population of your organization, that's a huge win, you guys. So your approach is really to talk to that front end, that 16%, and they will inspire and get the early majority on board, and the late majority will follow suit there. And that's how you drive change within an organization. So it's okay if people don't get on board, but you're going to have people that do connect with your story, that do start to mimic the behaviors that you want to have. And when they do, you want to continue supporting them. You want to continue encouraging them so they can start realizing the benefits of bringing that compelling vision to life. And that's how you drive change in an organization. I hope that helps you out. That's kind of your bailout. But before you tell your story, again, I'll have links to this, to the diffusion of innovation theory in the resources page. Spend some time studying it, learning it. It'll really help you out and give you a really great perspective. All right, so I'm going to be moving into wrap up here. As I was putting this presentation together, it's funny how things happen to fall into place. I was thinking about, I wanted to tell you and share with you the story of my team and how we are affecting change in our organization. And I was really looking hard this week about, I wish I had a really current story of challenge. And lo and behold, this morning, I changed my presentation this morning. Lo and behold, this morning, I read an article on governing.com that was talking about crisis with the public health workforce. And it had an interesting graphic that I wanted to share with you. And it says nearly 1 in 3 public health employees say they're considering leaving their organization within the next year. And as I reflect on the Human Services Department, we're dealing with some of those same challenges emerging from the pandemic. Our workforce, our job market and our workforce is really evolving right now. I don't know if you can relate to that statistic right there, but I know for my department, that is a big concern for us. So, I don't know if that applies to you, but as we think about this challenge, this is definitely a challenge our department is investing resources in. And I want to use that as kind of an example of how we can use compelling stories of the past, present, and future to help improve upon this metric here. So can you imagine what it would be like for a moment? Imagine what it would be like if we could reverse that trend. If we could build more loyalty with our workforce, if we could create an environment that actually attracted workers versus one that created environments where people were looking to get out and people were fighting to come to work for us in public service. I can tell you how that would affect me and how that would affect my organization. It would be definitely, it would change our state. It would change the society of New Mexicans everywhere. So I want to share with you our story. So I told you that I lead a very unique team within our department. I lead a team called the SEAL team. And it's very small. It's made up of 7 individuals. There's myself, the staff manager, so I lead the team. It's made up of 2 trainers, and it's made up of 4 supervisors, okay? And our job is to travel throughout the state and work with individual field offices that are struggling with morale or their internal office culture. And what we do is we engage with those offices, and we really spend time with them and understand what the issues are with their internal culture. And then we develop either coaching or training programs to help reverse that trend and improve the office morale. So it could be anywhere from maybe the workers are really struggling with low performance and they just need coaching. Or maybe the supervisors are overwhelmed and they're not able to spend the time that they need to spend with the frontline workers to coach them. Or maybe it's a leadership issue. Maybe a particular office director is not very strong in leadership, and it's having a trickle-down effect on the workers of the office. Could be anything, okay? Well, we travel around the state and we focus on reversing that trend and that office culture. But we didn't always exist. So when the SEAL team was created, it wasn't even called the SEAL team. It was called the Business Process Review Team. And it was a brand new initiative by our division. And when they posted for the position and I interviewed for it and was hired, I really didn't know what I was getting into. So when I got hired for the position, there was no playbook for this, right? We knew the problem. We knew that our division was struggling with culture issues, morale problems. And so when I was hired, our deputy director, her name was Shanita Harrison, I said, okay, what is this job all about? What do you want to achieve with this business process review team? And all she gave me was a vision. And she gave me the vision to create an environment that attracted workers, create an environment where people were happy, fulfilled, and content in serving our customers, and really creating an environment where people felt safe and supported. No playbook, just a vision. And so, and there was no staff. The second part of my team that makes it really interesting is that those 4 supervisors I was talking about are volunteers. So I don't even hire them. Supervisors from throughout the state dedicate a year of their career to serve on the SEAL team because of our story. And here's how our story started. So I put out a posting and I said, basically, we're developing a business process review team that is going to be focused on changing the culture of the income support division. I don't know what it's going to be like, but it's going to be very exciting and very fulfilling to those people that want to help drive positive change in our division. And I got 3 volunteers. Volunteer number 1 was a brand new promoted supervisor, had not even led her team yet. Second volunteer, another brand new supervisor, had just started leading her team, had a small unit. The third volunteer was a scrappy, seasoned supervisor that was really frustrated in her local office, and she just needed a change. And so they all joined the team, and we sat around the conference table and we shared our stories. We talked about what was frustrating about our division. We talked about our own personal struggles. And then the conversation led to, what did we want to be? What did we want this team to look like? And we started talking about things that we really believed in. And what we came up with is our values. And we all agreed that we wanted to serve our offices around us. And that became our first value, service. And we agreed that from the moment we started, everything we did from this point forward was to serve others. It was no longer going to be about us. It was only going to be what we could do for others. The second value was we wanted to improve everywhere we went. We wanted to achieve excellence. We wanted to strive for excellence. And that became our second value. We pursue excellence every day, knowing that we may never achieve it. Our third value was about attitude. We all knew the power of a positive attitude, and that became our third value. We know that positive attitudes are contagious, and we're going to always choose to be positive. And our fourth value was around leadership. And we recognized if we were going to be successful, if we were going to change our division, we had to lead people through change. We couldn't tell people to change. We had to demonstrate and lead people through change. And these four things became our name. We were no longer the BPR team. We were the SEAL team. And that's what we believe in. We believe in service. We believe in striving for excellence. We believe in the impact of positive attitudes, and we believe in leadership. And the reason I tell you that story is because we believe so strongly in these four values that we talk about them everywhere we go, in just that very same context that I shared with you. And let me show you what impact it's had on our division. What you're seeing on your screen right now is what we call our division vision poster. And this is the vision that our division, our entire division, is working towards. Y'all have heard of mission statements. We have a vision statement. And our vision for our division is to work as one team centered around excellence and innovation, devoted to passionately serving and empowering New Mexicans to better their lives. And the way that we do that, the way that we are going to realize our vision, is by serving four pillars. And those four pillars are our customers. We commit to our customers. We commit to excellent customer service by treating each New Mexican with dignity and respect to ensure every qualified individual receives timely and accurate benefits. Does that sound familiar to something I just shared with you? From the SEAL team? Service. Our second pillar is cultivating our culture. We cultivate an empowering, trusting, and collaborative environment to achieve excellence in our work and our impact on New Mexicans. There's the E from SEAL team. Our third pillar is investing in our people. We invest in our people through recognition and development opportunities in order to grow passionate, committed leaders within ISD. And our last pillar is harnessing innovation to ensure our systems facilitate efficient work, access to services, and communication. The SEAL team values that the four of us sat around that conference table and we decided who we were going to become, what we wanted this team to be. And by taking that story and sharing it everywhere we went, had such an impact that entire, those values were integrated into the values of our entire division. So I want to ask you, what if we all took that approach? What if we all decided to make a change and think about what we stand for and what we want to be, whether it be with our office, whether it's going to be with our families, whether it's going to be in our communities, whether it's going to be in our organization, or whether it's going to be in our country. If we were to change our mindsets and decide that from this point forward, everything we do is no longer about us, but about for others and serving others. And if we always strive for excellence, recognizing that we may never achieve excellence, but that we work every day to improve on our performance from the day before. And when faced with the choice of attitudes and making that choice of positivity always and understanding how contagious attitudes can be, how would that change things for us? And last but not least, taking ownership of our role as leaders and knowing that if we truly wanted to affect change, that we have to lead and demonstrate and escort others through change, as opposed through demanding or expecting or instructing others to change. How would that change your life? I want to leave you with that thought as we wrap up here. Folks, I think there are a couple of questions coming in. Let's see, I did lose track of the chat. So Alex, I'm going to default to you. Was there any questions? Sure. I did see a couple of questions come in.
Sure. We had one question from Kathy Bruin. How many people are in your division?
Oh, hi, Kathy. So good question. We have approximately 1,000 within the income support division. That includes not just our eligibility workforce, but also our management up through our policy and central office. So it's about 1,000.
Sounds good. The rest are just kind of comments on your presentation. I know Tracy Murphy said she's going to borrow this. We have Carol Tatske. I apologize if I'm not getting the last name. Boy, what a better world we'll be living in. We have, thank you for influencing. Amazing. From Eve Ammons, would be less stressed, happier, more engaged. So just some positive feedback.
Fantastic. Boy, as I put this presentation together, I didn't really time it. So it looks like we've got a little bit of extra time. I do want to encourage you, if you have any questions, if you don't think of any now, and as you reflect on the presentation, or maybe you're looking through the slides and you want to drop me a line, more than happy to collaborate with you or share information with you. I did put together a resource slide after this one here that has a lot of great links. If you're looking, if you like reading or listening to audiobooks, you know, some of my inspiration as I put material together and my leadership trainings, I'm a big believer in the writings of Simon Sinek. So if you're looking for a great book to pick up and read about connecting with your inner purpose, I'd recommend Start With Why by Simon Sinek. He has another great book in follow-up to that called Leaders Eat Last. No, Simon Sinek did not pay me to plug his books, but I can tell you those have had a huge impact on me. Another one is, you know, the antithesis of Simon Sinek, and he'll talk about this in his videos, is Adam Grant, Give and Take, how givers become more successful leaders than takers, another great influential book. And then I just have a lot of other resources that are available to you guys that I want to share with you. Alex, I don't know if any more questions came in, but I see a lot of comments. I'm trying to keep up with them as
Sure, Lawrence. I think there was one thing regarding kind of, there was a lot of questions regarding the recording as well as your resources. So I did put it in the chat feature, but the presentation as well as that one-page resource list that Lawrence mentioned, as well as the recording, will be emailed out to everyone. I would ask if you can give me to the end of next week, if that's okay with everyone. I do have a couple days scheduled off. My birthday is on Friday. So I am taking a break, but I promise to get that out to everyone by the end of next week.
Fantastic, Alex. Well, if there are no other questions, again, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to engage with you. But I do want to tell you that, you know, having an opportunity to spend this time with you guys is a real highlight for me. There's nothing I like better than taking the things that I've learned and that have been successful for me and sharing them with you. I'm really looking forward to the upcoming NSDTA 2022 conference. I don't know if any of you are planning to go. If you do, I'll be there. Would love to get to meet you in person. And I want to encourage you guys to become that inspirational storyteller. You don't become an expert right out of the chute, but it does take practice. Remember, key points are be yourself, be genuine. Talk about what you believe. Beliefs are really, really powerful. Know your audience. Make sure that your stories are relevant, and then show up to give. Just like I showed up here to give to you, share your stories with a spirit of giving, and then really reflect on the past, present, and future. As you develop that skill, you'll be able to turn any story from the past into a story that ties to a current challenge, and then talk about the behaviors that you want your group to change that'll drive you towards that compelling future. And that's how you drive change in any organization. I wish you all the best. I wish you all luck. Work on that storytelling. And thank you all so very, very much for sharing your time with me.
This is great, Lawrence. Thank you all for attending our webinar, and a special thanks to our very own Lawrence, who's part of the NSDTA Executive Advisory Council, for such an engaging and informative presentation. I ask you all to please keep an eye out for upcoming webinars through our NSDTA Showcase Series for the calendar year, and please remember to register. Thank you all for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.